God love you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. Our guests today are Mark Baker and Tyler Burke, both with Motivated Brands. And this is Smart Business Moves. How is everyone?
Woo. I'm
Doing
ready.
great. How are you, Tom? How are you, Liz?
I'm awesome. I'm excited for the season. It's December. I'm ready.
I'm really happy to see your smile. As you know, you've got my favorite smile in the world. You always cheer me up every time I see you. And Tom, it's a pleasure. I didn't get to come to Vegas this year for the ISSA Residential International Trade Show, so I missed you both. I hope you had a great time down there.
We had a very good time. It was a great show. There were a meaningful number of house cleaning businesses, leaders there. It was a new venue. We were doing it in Mandalay Bay this year. We're going to be doing it at the same place next year in November. So we'll see you next year.
It was surprisingly good, right? I thought, different place, Mandalay Bay. I don't know what this is. You know, it's been kind of weak still since COVID, but it was pretty darn good. I loved it.
You know,
I think
it was a good crowd. It was a good vibe. The venue's a little bit smaller, and you would say, "Oh, gee, that's bad," but it was really good because it was a good feel. It was a good dynamic.
I agree. I liked it being smaller.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to next year, and I'm looking forward to Tyler joining us. So he's a residential professional house cleaner with our house cleaning division called Motivated House Cleaners. And he is a pretty amazing man. And hopefully tonight we'll get a chance to talk a little about his story, talk about Motivated Brands, Inc. and our unique Nano-Franchise Business Model. And Tyler actually was a part of a beta test group. We've been testing the business model for about a year and a half. And he had a very successful 12-month test period that ended on November the 21st, I believe. Was it, Tyler? Was your first full year?
Yep.
And I think he accomplished just a little over 700 bookings in that time. He now has a full-time assistant. That's his employee. And he does about 4, sometimes 5 bookings a day. And he was rated about 60% of the time, a little more than 60% of the time he got rated on those 700 plus bookings. And he averaged a 4.97 out of 5 rating from the customers. Nice. So of all the scheduled bookings that we had, he had never missed one booking, one shift. He keeps talking about Jerry Seinfeld, and he saw Jerry Seinfeld years ago talk about his great success, right? Because if you ever watch Seinfeld and you know the history, he had the #1 rated show in all of the world, America and the world. And he said he never broke his chain. He used to write some comedy every day. He never broke his chain. And Tyler is convinced that the key to his success has been that he never breaks his chain. So hopefully we get to talk about it tonight.
I definitely want to hear Tyler. I heard him say one word, I think. So I don't have a clue yet what his voice sounds like, but we're going to Tyler. But I think before we dig in too much into hearing what Tyler has to say, etc., I'm sure that there are other people out there like me that are just thinking, well, what's a nano-franchise business model? Like, what is that? What do you mean by that? Well, who coined this term? Where did it come from? Maybe talk to us just a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, the backstory is that I had started as a residential house cleaner working solo here in St. John's, Newfoundland, and worked hard and was very dependable. And I guess I built a bit of a reputation for myself, and my business started to grow. And as I started to scale, I found that I ran into troubles when it came to turnover of technicians. There's a high turnover rate, and I struggled with some operational chaos that came with growing and growing and growing. And I was just convinced that the root of all of the customer dissatisfaction ultimately came from that high turnover rate. It was really hard to have, put in great training and to build say, collective knowledge when, you were turning over at a 250% rate.
Yeah.
So I guess I set out to try to come up with a way to not just put a Band-Aid over the turnover issue, but to get to the root of the issue and cure it. So I just tested iteration after iteration of business model, trying to, solve that challenge. And what ended up happening is that I wasn't able to. Like, it just kept, everything I tried wouldn't work per se. And I guess I kind of came to a head just when I had gotten back from the ISSA show in Las Vegas in 2019. And I realized that, I needed to come up with a solution. And I sat down and I thought to myself, like, what is it about me personally, like, that makes me care so much? Like, how come I care so much about my work? And I remember when I was working as a solo, I was cleaning a neo-angle corner shower, with the embossed acrylic. And it had all the tracks, and all of the soils had gotten into the tracks. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I didn't really know how to clean that well. I was using bad tools. I was using a toothbrush from Dollarama and trying to use the jet spray to get it out. And I remember thinking in my head,
Dollarama, is that
like Dollar Tree?
Dollar General in your country, or Dollar Tree in your country. It's a big box dollar store, basically.
Where everything costs $5.
Yeah. Where there's a Costco, there's Dollarama.
Did we share that you guys are in Canada? I don't know if we did.
Yeah, we're in Canada. But I'm glad you interrupted, because I was digressing.
Hold on. Before you go any further, what the heck, Tom? We know Mark, so we just assume that everybody knows.
We're in Canada.
We should have done that. Maybe just, Mark, before you go further in, maybe just give a real quick, brief intro as to who you are, why you're even,
So I'm the president of a Canadian company, a national Canadian company called Motivated Brands, Inc. And we help Canadians write their own success stories by giving them an opportunity to love what they do and earn a good living through nano-franchising. Same time, we work really hard to consistently provide dependable, quality, and guarantee-backed services. So what sets us apart is the way we deliver our services. So each technician who performs the work in the field is an actual nano-franchisee business owner. So as an owner, as most people know, it creates a level of commitment and dedication that's really hard to replicate in any other type of work arrangement. So as a result, they're very highly dependable and consistently provide quality work because, well, nobody cares like an owner. Yeah. So nano-franchising came about because, I remember when I was cleaning that shower, I thought to myself, like, this is good enough, Mark. You need to move on. And then I thought in my head, no, it's not good enough. You have to set a good example for everyone else. And, there was no everyone else. It was just me. It was a whole year before I even had an assistant. But that was kind of the mindset. And when I asked myself, why do I care so much about my work? It boiled down to I cared because it was my business. I owned it. It was a business. It wasn't just a job to me. And, nobody cares like an owner. And it hit me. Well, if nobody cares like an owner, well, I'll just have to make everyone an owner. So I looked to, business format franchising. And as we all know, anyone who's read Michael Gerber's famous books, E-Myth, he states that a lot of small businesses are technicians turned owners. And ultimately what ends up happening is that, as they're physically doing the work in the field and they grow, they become overwhelmed and ensnared. And of course, the business that was meant to give them freedom entraps them. And, he always said, well, even if you're not going to franchise, adopt a franchise prototype model and slowly work yourself out of the field. And I really liked that concept. But at the same time, I felt that, turning the technicians into owners, but there's a lot of people who take great satisfaction in physically doing the work. And I didn't want to dilute that level of ownership care. So what I did was I created a model where I could remove all of the administrative entanglements that would bog someone down. And so as a nano franchisor, as we like to call it, or a franchisor, we provide a really enhanced level of support services. So our nano franchisees can always be the technician doing the work. And what we also do is we intentionally keep it small by design. So scaling is limited to the nano franchisee who physically does the work with 1 to 2 on-site assistants who help that nano franchisee with the work, but they never work off-site. And Tyler has just hired his assistant, and he's scaled out. So he scaled a little bit. So Tyler was part of this beta test group as I tested my theories to see, and it was highly successful. Our turnover went from a couple of 100% down to about 3%, and we've held that for 3 years now. So Tyler had great success. He earned just under 6 figures this year as a professional house cleaner in a small market, and was able to really change the trajectory of his life. And hopefully tonight we'll get a chance to talk directly with Tyler, and he can tell us about his experience with the Nano franchise concept and the house cleaning division of Motivated Brands, which is
I really like the concept, Mark, of Nano franchise. Is that like a business model that has already been established in Canada, or is that something that you
something I created?
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, when it comes to business nomenclature in Canada and the US, you guys have the SBA down there, which is like the Small Business Association, I think.
Yeah.
And they categorize businesses in different sizes. And we have in Canada, we have organizations as well that do that. And what I always found is that when you say, "Hey, I'm a small business owner," well, a small business owner could be someone doing $5 million in sales, and you have 89 employees. Mm-hmm. But it also could be that freelancer who worked solo. And I found that the nomenclature just never fit. So I realized there needed to be kind of a segment so that someone like Tyler could articulate, "Hey, I'm a nano business owner." And people knew that meant, hey, it's me and up to 2 other people. And, so when it came to franchising, I needed nano franchising is a subset of business format franchising. And the big difference is that the person who is the franchisee always is the person who performs the work in the field. They get this high level of services. They have an enhanced level of commitment and dedication because they have an ownership level of care. And we provide them with support and structure, and we help them to be successful. And their success is our success.
Wow. So I have quite a few questions, of course, but I see that we also have some questions over here. Raquel's like similar to me. She's like, bam, 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 I got questions. We'll get you, Raquel, I promise. My first question, Mark, is so with the Nano, I guess before I start asking too many questions, we probably should hear from Tyler, but I do have one question. I think I heard you say that to be this Nano franchise, to meet this definition, it would be them and up to 2 other people, correct? Working for them? So
assistants.
How does assistants? How does it work? So is there sort of a cap on the size of business? That's what I'm hearing, that there's a cap on the size of business.
It's intentionally small by design. So it appeals to the subset of people who, for example, it could be a technician who's working as a professional house cleaner, a professional hair cutter, in the service industry currently for an employer. And sometimes there's a lack of autonomy, lack of control. And to be quite honest with you, it's really hard to earn a true living wage, even if, you're working with someone who pays, one of the higher wages in the industry. Mm-hmm. And it provides an opportunity for those people to, love what they do and earn a good, honest living and move the needle forward in their life and, get off the proverbial hamster wheel sometimes they can find themselves entrapped in. And so sometimes they'll leave and they'll come over and they'll become a Nano franchisee and they're their own business owner. So there isn't that aspiration necessarily to, constantly scale and, own franchise. Like I say, if you look at Mr. Electric, great franchise owned by Neighborly, you could have the rights for an area like, say, St. John's, Newfoundland, and you may have 7 technicians in that service area, each in the van. Well, with us, if there were 7 people, say, with motivated hair cutters or household helpers or house cleaners, each of those technicians would be an actual Nano franchisee. And there could be multiple in one service area. So those who do want a degree of scalability for various reasons can add 1 on-site assistant or even up to 2 on-site assistants.
Okay. All right. So I would love to hear from Tyler, like your experience, the different things that Yeah, basically your experience. We're probably going to want to ask you a million questions, but
Tell us your story.
I'll certainly try my best to articulate everything. First of all, I'm not sure if I've thanked you for having me. I'm very nervous. I've never done anything like this before.
It's just
If they have-
relax. This is no big deal.
If they'll let me on, Tyler, you got nothing to worry about. Yeah, you'll be golden.
So do you want me to start from basically the beginning?
Sure. What makes sense for you? Like, fill us in.
Well,
Where's your story?
How did you meet Mark, and how did you
so
get
I had been working in healthcare for about 5 years. Since I was 16, just working. I'd never been a business owner. I had never had necessarily aspirations to be a business owner, mainly because I didn't think that I had the aptitude for all the things that Mark mentioned, the administrative side of things, So to put it as succinctly as I can, after 5 years of working in healthcare, I became disillusioned. So I started looking for something else. I didn't know what I was looking for, but Motivated Brands came across my radar in summer of 2022. And I had been working as a supervisor in a retirement home for a few months at that time. And I wasn't quite ready to pull the trigger on leaving that job. I was very comfortable in that role. But something about the so-called promise of Motivated stuck with me. So by October, I realized that if I let the opportunity go by, I felt like I would regret it. So I took a risk. I had, I wasn't earning much money, but I had a stable enough income that I knew leaving that behind as a dad of 3 children, it was a risk. But I took the leap after meeting Mark through the onboarding process. And I just decided, I'm going to try this. I'm going to become a so-called house cleaner. And my very first house was a move-out clean. It was a big empty house. I had done the online training. I had acquired all the gear and the equipment. I had done practice cleans. And so I go there on the day. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's a Monday morning. And I meet the gentleman. He's a very nice man. He says, here you go. Here's the house. And I basically have 12 hours to do, this pretty big house. Move out so it was empty, but it was still intimidating,
Yeah.
It was the first time that wasn't the first time I'd cleaned a house, but naturally, once that clock starts and each minute that goes by, somebody's paying for that time.
It's real now.
So
Yeah.
immediately I go blank, It's all tunnel vision. I completely forget what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm tripping over everything. I go upstairs into an empty bedroom. I start working on the window. And the tracks are full of mold and buildup and whatnot. And an hour goes by, and I'm still working on this window. And I reach out and I talk to Mark, and Mark talks me down. I tell him I'm straight up, and I'm just getting over COVID, by the way. Just that past weekend, I can barely speak. I'm all congested. He talks me down, and I get through it. I keep going. Hours and hours and hours go by. It's 9 o'clock at night now. 12 hours have elapsed, and I still have at least 3 or 4 hours of work left.
Okay.
So I suck it up. I take out my phone and I go to call Mark and tell him, it's going well. It's just taking me a really long time.
Yeah.
I realize that I have no service on my phone. And I think, something must have happened with
Liz, this is all new to me, by the way. It's the first time I've heard any of this.
Oh my gosh! I know.
Thanks for sharing this, Tyler. Forgive me for
So I
interrupting.
realize when my phone has no service, this sinking feeling that because I was so broke, honestly, I knew that my bill was late, but I hadn't paid my bill and my service got cut off. And so I'm instantly basically collapse. I close in on myself. I'm like, this is so humiliating. This was supposed to be the first day of the rest of my life. I put everything on the line for this.
Yeah.
So I realized, like, I'm in this house by myself. I have no access to any kind of Wi-Fi spot. Um, I know that I had to get in touch with somebody because they were going to start worrying about me, because I can't just continue working for 3 or 4 more hours.
Gosh.
So dejected, I pack everything up. I go home, talk to my wife, tell her what happened. I had to use her phone to reach out to Mark so that he knows I'm okay, right? And her being the technological wizard that she is, she gets on the phone with the phone company and gets my phone restored and everything. And I'm just completely defeated, just laying on the couch. I had no idea what Mark's reaction was going to be. I thought, I just completely fumbled the whole thing. I felt terrible. So eventually, within about a half an hour of getting back home, my phone dings and I see you have a new review, right? And this is the first time I've ever done a job where, I'm rated on my performance. First time, I'd worked in kitchens, but never as a waiter. So I had no concept of receiving tips or anything like that. So I open it up. It's a 5-star review.
Wait. I got to interrupt. I got to interrupt.
Sure.
So this is like 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
So real time reviews.
And you're doing that, right?
Customers review in the app real time. They get a notification.
Okay.
Ding, here's your feedback on what you just did.
Okay.
So he's lying on the sofa. I know this part. He's lying on the sofa. Yeah. He's dejected. He's had this experience. And I didn't know it was this bad. I'm very sorry. and then he gets this 5-star review.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
That wasn't it. That wasn't the part that really brought my spirits back up. I get another ding about 5 minutes later. You have a new tip. And I look at it. It's $100. So I sit back and I think, I had just come from making $1,000 every 2 weeks after taxes as an employee making minimum wage, to just having made $450 in one day. And I had been so wrapped up in my own sort of self-loathing in that moment, I didn't even consider, whether I'd done a good job at cleaning or not. I just knew that the job wasn't done. I was in the kitchen. I still had like a fridge interior, an oven interior, all these things that weren't completed. But this man who I still clean for, being as lovely and gracious as he was, reviewed me and tipped me very generously. And basically, I got up, I took all my cleaning cloths, threw them in the washer, switched them over to the dryer, hopped in bed. Every muscle in my body was burning like I had never experienced before. And I had done hard physical jobs. I'd worked as a personal care attendant. I'm not sure what the equivalent is in the States for that. But, this was probably the hardest I'd ever worked. And after talking to Mark and explaining to him, I could have lied. I thought about lying and saying, my phone died, but
I love you.
I knew that it wouldn't.
No.
I knew that it wouldn't. I felt comfortable enough with Mark to just shoot straight with him, even after knowing him just for these few days at this point. And I told him what happened, and he coached me through it. And basically, I went to bed and got up and did it all again the next day. And I've been doing that for 12 months now, just getting up and doing it all over again.
You're a good storyteller, Tyler.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is about Tyler, but I just want to say that 3 weeks ago, Tyler made $1,100 in tips in 1 week.
Wow.
$1,100 in tips in 1 week. It was $1,150 actually. So, you got to keep in mind, this particular market is a very small market. We're in St. John's, Newfoundland. It's an entire province, only has 500,000 people. The capital city, he probably has access to about 70,000 clientele. The hourly rate in the area is about $34 per person hour for maintenance, stall cleaning, maybe $43 for deep. And, he earned $1,100 in tips in one single week. And, I think on the beta test period, Tyler, it's really weird calling him Tyler in front of other people because we always say Mr. Burke to our customers, right? Mr. Tyler Burke, your provider, sir, man. So he did about 700 or so bookings in his first year, which ended on November the 21st. And he never missed one single scheduled booking. He has not missed a day's work since he started. And again, he's been rated about 60% of the time, a little over, and he's got a 4.197 out of 5 rating. And I'm just going to say that really quickly. So like it sounds weird saying to another man, I'm proud of you, of course, because I'm putting myself above you or colleagues, but like I just got to say, Tyler, I'm so proud of you. You've leaned into the business model, you've leaned into the profession, and he actually is our professional house cleaner. And he done a deep clean on our house. I think we get really bad weather. We have the most rain in all of Canada, except for one other city gets a few more millimeters. And we get the least amount of sunshine in any major North American city. So we had bad weather. And so it just so happened we had this string of 6 weeks of bad weather. Tyler came in, did this amazing deep clean in our house. And it was the first sunny day we've had was the next day. And my wife, Nicole, is like, Mark, are you going to go outside and play with Scarlett? Why are you in the rec room still? Because it was a nice day. And I said, I just don't want to leave my home again. I don't want to leave. She's like, why? Because Tyler, like, he made me fall back in love with my own home. Because the home was just so amazing. Like just every little thing, like, you run your fingers down the back of the handles on the stainless steel fridge and there's no encrusted soils. Like there wasn't a thing. And I mean, I have a keen eye for this. Yeah. There wasn't a thing out of place. And even now when Tyler comes by our house, I just feel such a sense of gratitude to him, So thank you so much. Like you make a very busy man's life better. And every time I come home after you've been there, I fall in love with my home every week. Again, thanks to you. So thanks, Tyler.
Your initial premise, Mark, was that with ownership, going back to Michael Gerber's book and all of that, there's a whole different mindset when you are the owner. And Tyler, you were sharing you had professional experience before meeting Mark and pursuing this journey. Is it different? I mean, is it a different? Were you always that awesome, or is this something new?
The best way that I can articulate it is that I have always been a hard worker. But in healthcare, I was the guy that called in sick every week.
Nice.
I would get up in the morning. I would get up in the morning and decide that day if I wanted to go to work. Was it worth putting myself through this, knowing what the end result was going to be, which is $1,200 every 2 weeks. So basically, to answer your question, it's hard for me to describe the difference between my life now and then. And it's not just about money, but money is a big part of it, because money essentially was the motivator, the initial motivator, because I was tired of coming home to my children and being exhausted physically and mentally, which, I mean, we all do to an extent, but at the same time, still struggling to provide for them, And I come home from work and I'm tired these days still, but they're looked after in a way that I had never been able to provide for them before. I sum it up like this. I went from making $1,000 every 2 weeks to $2,000 every week, to put a fine point on it, like in terms of like the numbers, that's what it is. And that's a huge, huge life-changing thing for me. And the reason I do it is, or the reason that my life looks like that now, is because I get up and do it every day. Because I'm, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, I'm motivated to do it every single day. Because I do feel a sense of autonomy over my life in a way that it was just not possible before, working underneath somebody and working on somebody else's schedule and somebody else's, what they decide my work was worth.
Yeah. That brings me to a question that I have, actually, Tyler. I'm wondering how it was for you when you told your family members, listen, I'm going to go from the medical field into house cleaning. I'm going to start cleaning some houses. How did that land?
It was definitely, well, you know what? It tracked pretty well. My wife was very supportive because I think she realized at that point that I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't feel like the version of myself that I wanted to be. You know, I was 32 years old. I had actually left long-term care where I was basically the highest I could go as a personal care attendant, making about $25 an hour. I had left that job to go to a different setting, doing the same kind of work, but in a different setting, because I just felt like I needed something different. And I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew it had to be different. And that was a $10 an hour pay cut. I went from making $25 an hour to $15 an hour because I felt like I needed something different. So it wasn't all about the money, even though that was a very hard decision to take less money to try to find
Purpose.
Purpose.
Some meaning in your life.
So
yeah,
I've found that now through doing something that like I said, it wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
Like the thought of being a house cleaner, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly, I mean, you guys know as well as anybody, it's viewed as degrading work, I suppose. I mean,
but
By some, yeah, by some it is.
By some
there are
people, yeah.
that consider it to be more of a menial, ease of entry job, and there are some cultures that do look down on it. And it's definitely when someone chooses it as a profession, and that's something that we're working on. Little girl, little boys growing up, they don't look at mom and dad necessarily and say, "Hey, I want to grow up and be a professional house cleaner." And we're changing that. We're one of the mission, of course, is to help people write their own success stories and love what they do and earn a good living through nano-franchising. But the vision is to become Canada's largest franchisor. And what we want to do is we want to help redistribute wealth to the people on the front lines actually doing the heavy lifting, like Tyler and so many more like him. So basically what we want to create is a situation where the level of professionalism, the level of dependability, the level of just how much he leans into his job as a professional is at a really high level.
But it's but hold on. I think it's because we keep going back and forth. Is he a house cleaner or is he on a business? I mean,
he's both. He's a technician owner. So they're not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. How's he
in this case? Go ahead.
How is he identifying though? He's not identifying as this low life house cleaner, blah blah blah. He sees himself. It sounds like.
Of course, but that's a culture we created, right? And I guess what he's saying is that he never necessarily, and don't let me speak for you, Tyler. You jump in. He's obviously extremely articulate man. But what I'm trying to say here is that through our nano-franchise concept and redistributing the wealth and the ownership and the autonomy and the control into the hands of the people who are physically doing the work, we're also elevating the level of professionalism, dependability, quality workmanship that they bring to the consumer. And that's also raising the perception of how consumers view professional house cleaners, because their experience with people like Tyler and many more like him across the country are really helping change perception.
Okay, I agree, but we got to get to some of these questions because
Rachel has been asking a ton of questions and she's got to run, but she wants you to hit her up like messenger after this.
She is an admin of a Made in Canada Facebook group for just Canadian professional house cleaners, and it is an exceptional Facebook group. Okay. So if you're a Canadian and you're in the house cleaning industry, go to Facebook, type in Made in Canada. And Rachel manages that group with another person, and she is
her name Rachel, y'all? Because it's spelled like Raquel.
Raquel, I apologize, Raquel.
All right, let's get her name right. That's okay. All right, so Raquel, hopefully you can meet up with Mark, get your questions answered. But I know that what happens a lot of times is people see these questions over here, and then they're waiting for those answers.
Yeah,
So,
but we've been in a roll, and I didn't want to interrupt right in the
I
middle
know.
of
We have so many. Yeah.
Tyler's story.
We'll go to the top and let's ask some of these questions.
I can listen to Tyler talk for hours. He's the
That
most
would be-
articulate man. He loves to write and he reads a lot. So I am not necessarily articulate in my vocabulary. So sometimes when we're talking, he'll give me a word. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I never thought of that word. So when he talks, Tom, I'm the same. I could just listen to Tyler because the way he articulates himself is so wonderful.
I'm going to
listen.
mute you right now, Mark, so that we can talk to Tyler. I'm going to mute you.
Yeah. Yes, we're in Canada.
That's good.
Excellent concept.
How about this?
So this is kind of getting into the nuts and bolts, some of the legal aspects of this, and I guess this is specific to Canada.
Yeah, so we're actually we have a master franchisor in Nevada. So we'll actually be coming with 6 divisions into Las Vegas and Nevada about the end of the first quarter.
Oh,
There's
so
a lot of
cool.
legalities when it comes to franchising, and there's even more legalities when it comes to having a national business that also can operate in the United States. And we don't require master franchisors here in Canada. But, and correct me where I'm wrong, because I'm not an American, but my perception of America is it's like 50 separate little countries in some ways, and doing business across different states can sometimes be
different
tricky.
states have different rules
Yeah.
when it pertains to franchising. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah,
Mark.
and with us, we don't require master franchisors in different territories. We can run everything from here. So we've got some, I've got some colleagues and peers and friends that I've done business with over the years, and so yeah, we're rolling out into America. As far as source deductions, Raquel, Tyler is one of the things we offer is an enhanced level of support services. So, for example, when Tyler is taking care of his bookkeeping and his accounting, we have a very sophisticated automated system. We give him the numbers he needs, and even when he hired his first assistants, we did the pay stub every week for his assistant. We did the source deductions. We sent him an email letting him know how much he has to remit to the CRA, which is like IRS for Canada. But then after a few times, we taught him how to do it for himself. And now he does that for himself and we support him. But we want to make sure that like, for example, his customers don't call him direct. They don't have his phone number. All communications come in through our call center. We have a customer support center, an omni-channel support center. And so, if there's a feedback, even bookings, like he manages his own schedule per se, but he will reach out to us on any schedule changes that he might need to make for various reasons, and we'll communicate with his customer on his behalf. So he can focus on his core competency, which is doing a great job delivering quality workmanship every day.
How is this? Oh, I'm sorry. I know you have more questions here, Tom. So let me just ask one question real quick because it's relevant to what Mark just said, and then maybe hit these again. Sorry. So, Mark, how is being this franchisor different than being an independent contractor? Like, where is that distinction there?
Well, just think of McDonald's. McDonald's is each McDonald's restaurant is owned by a business that is a franchisee. Each individual human is a franchisee. It's the exact same concept. The only difference is that there's no dilution of ownership care. Obviously, if you look at Subway, obviously Subway has standardization, systems, procedures, business models that people follow, and they consistently get a favorable and predictable result if they follow the system. It's the same, except for with, say, Subway, the people physically doing the technical work are employees. Mm-hmm. They're not the franchisee. Versus in our system, we've removed that level, and the people doing the physical work are actual franchisees. He is the owner. The franchise and him are one and the same.
So I think I got a little confused there because I think there are more distinctions that I'm hearing. So the person that owns Subway, they pay all of their own bills. They pay all of their own, they do all their own payroll. So, but it doesn't sound like, unless I got that wrong, Tyler, it doesn't sound like you pay all your own bills. It sounds like they're paid through the franchisor.
No, he's responsible like any franchisee. But what we do, for example, so let's say we look at, the technology for the call center. Yeah. So obviously we are able to, build that using economies to scale. he, as a freelancer, would likely never be able to have, a call center that has 24/7, 365. College educated support agents answering the phones and dealing with that, or even access to the kind of technology. Like, for example, Tom is the founder of Made Central, which is a world-class service industry software. And typically a freelancer might not, and you correct me, Tom, have access to that, right? Versus because of our economies of scale, we can, at a fraction of the cost, provide Tyler with that. So, like any franchise,
there's a lot of franchises offer managed services to their licensees, their franchisees.
I totally get it now.
We just bring that to another level, right? Because we understand that it not only might it not be something that a Nano-Franchisee has an aptitude for, they may not have a desire for it either. Not every, or even be good at it. So what we want to do is we don't want to entangle him with those stuff. We want to handle that on his behalf and do a great job for him. But as far as the expenses of physically running the business, no different than any other business, they're his. Yeah. But we are able to give him the ability to do things at such a high level at such a reduced cost that the economies of scale really work.
It's a value add, and every franchisee is able to be more successful because of the support you're offering.
Makes sense. Okay, I get it.
I was asking about working for the cleaning companies. I guess this is kind of part of that confusion as well.
I'll reach out to Raquel independently, and we can kind of talk about that or whatever and how that kind of works. But
okay. Stacy really loves the story here, as do I. And
Stacy started as a solo house cleaning technician, just like me and just like Tyler, so she can relate. I bet.
And Stacy's reminding us it's a form of caring for others. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Tyler, do you mind if I ask you a question? Because I really appreciated everything you had to say tonight. And again, I'm very grateful to you and to all the other, Nano franchisees. And one of the big, I guess, changes in mindset with me is becoming a servant leader. Now, I'm not a religious man per se, but I have a lot of friends who are religious, and they talk about a servant leadership, and I really leaned into that. And so that's how I perceive my role as president of the company. I'm a servant leader, and I'm in servitude to Tyler and to the other Tylers. And Tyler, I just want to ask, so straight shooting here. So tell me what it is about Motivated House Cleaners and Motivated Brands Inc. that really you like the best. Like what keeps you coming every day, if I might ask?
It's most definitely the support. I mean, I'm trying to think of a common example. So, for instance, being locked out of a house. We show up at the scheduled time, the door's locked. I get on the phone, call the support office. Within minutes, they'll reach out to, the customer and let them know that, hey, the door's locked, Tyler's here. There's been times where, or even just, if I'm struggling with a clean, if I'm just in a house that's excessively soiled and I just feel like it's outside of my ability. I mean, more so in the beginning. I could get on the phone with Mark directly, and he could, because he was experienced in the fields, it was just, it's hard to compare. I can't imagine how hard it was or how hard it's been and still is for solo cleaners, because I never had that experience. I was very lucky to find Motivated, and this is like my first experience with being a professional house cleaner. And I feel like that level of support has been exactly what's allowed me to be a quote unquote professional rather than just, a struggling house cleaner, being able to focus on the work and go to my customers' houses every day and just focus on doing 5-star jobs, just banging them out, 4 houses a day. I do 20 houses a week. So I do about 80 bookings a month, and I credit my success to the ability, to, just, it's hard to compare. I can't imagine how hard it was or how hard it's been and still is for solo cleaners, because I never had that experience. I was very lucky to find Motivated, and this is like my first experience with being a professional house cleaner. And I feel like that level of support has been exactly what's allowed me to be a quote unquote professional rather than just, a struggling house cleaner. or my ability to do that is because of the support that I receive.
Yeah,
You know,
because of the managed services, because of what Burke
absolutely,
offers to you.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
perfect
and I think that Tom, because Tyler, you've never met Tom in person, but you will at the next trade show. Tom is a numbers guy like you've never met in your life. And when you were talking about the 80 bookings, Tom was doing math. he was doing the math. Tom, am I wrong about that? I probably am wrong.
We
But
were
you
we
likely
were we
were.
thinking a little bit, yeah. That's the fun
Yeah.
part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyways, Tyler, thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really appreciate you. Tyler
Oh, I
actually
might have gotten the math
is
wrong
is
on
going to
that.
be.
No,
He's
I
gonna.
might be a
you're
bit
gold.
too
You're gold.
20. It's 20 houses a week, so times 4. Yeah.
So he
I'm a
also
little bit
opens up like
brain fog.
screen cleans for his customers. Like he'll open up, he'll open up probably over a 6-week period. He'll open up a full Saturday where he can go in and do a very long clean for his customers, so they don't go elsewhere because he's
That was
blocked with
my
maintenance
question.
customers. Of course, Christmas time before Christmas, knowing that January, generally speaking, here where we are anyway in Canada, there's a bit of a lull afterwards, and so he really, he adds extra weekend shifts during that period of time. And make sure that he earns good revenue, because if it leans out a little bit in the new year, where some of his maintenance customers might suspend services, that he's through that. But Tyler's actually being groomed to be the vice president of the house cleaning division, and we've got a bit of a plan, and I think he's very articulate and very very authentic, and I think he'll bring to the providers out in the field across Canada and in America, he'll bring a level of like, I understand what it's like to be you. I've done that, and I'm just so excited for him. And we're actually opening a new division next week called Motivated Household Helpers. And Tyler has agreed to be a beta tester. So he's actually adding a shift a week. So my wife unfortunately has progressive heart disease. And so she's a young woman. She's just early 40s, and so she's experiencing that. And February past was just kind of a rough month for her. I think between the cardiology visits and GP and specialists and emergency room visits and ambulances, I think maybe about 20 times out of the 28 days we were at the hospital for a long period of time. And I remember we had gotten back like 4 in the morning. And our little 6-year-old, her older sister Taylor, had taken her overnight and helped out. My wife obviously went to rest, and I felt overwhelmed. And through all the trials and tribulations of my life, I don't think I've ever felt overwhelmed in that manner before. And my house was exceptionally clean. Tyler is my professional house cleaner. I mean, it's immaculate. But it was very disheveled, if that's the right way to pronounce it. It was very unorganized, it was untidy, and I felt really overwhelmed. And I just thought to myself, like, I just need help. Like, I don't want someone to come in and do my work. I don't want someone to clean my house. I just need help. I want someone to come help me. Like, hey, how about you tackle Scarlett's toy room? I'll get those dishes done. You help me tidy that laundry away. Just some household chores. And I felt that if I had that, it could just get me over that. So we're launching next week Motivated Household Helpers, and customers, what they do is they go online on demand and they book a basic, standard, or premium, and a professional household helper who's trained in organizational skills and all the things comes to the home and comes in and helps with some basic household chores. And it could be helping someone, fold some laundry, or it could be helping someone, do some dishes, or whatever they need. And so Tyler's agreed to be the beta tester for that. And then, of course, he'll take over both divisions as the VP.
So I have a couple of questions about that, Tyler. So currently you have a full schedule, right? You're doing 20 jobs a week. And so you're taking on this new thing. Are you going to sell that to your current clients, or are you planning on freeing up some time, working nights? Where are you finding the time to do this, or how are you incorporating it?
So I work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Those were the hours that I chose initially to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a couple of gaps in my schedule right now outside of weekly and biweekly customers. So what the plan is to actually leave those open. So until now, those have been filled with as needed cleans, one-off cleans.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave those open to accommodate the household helper bookings. And certainly I think my current existing customers would be A lot of them, anyway,
Yeah.
would be open to it. And yeah, we're just going to take it one booking at a time, and I think it'll allow us to sort of branch into more of housekeeping kind of a role. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, Mark, but um, we as house cleaners, we have a very specific task list. We go into a house, we perform this checklist. This is what you're purchasing. This is what we do. I think with the household helpers, it's going to allow us to do maybe what people are kind of inclined to expect from a quote unquote house cleaner, which is, oh, well, you guys don't do dishes and you don't do laundry. So, no, we clean surfaces, but in this other division, it'll free us up to be able to do things like that, that are more in line with housekeeping per se.
All right, so I have a question. So let's say you have Mrs. Johnson and you clean house for her, and now she hears about this. She's like, oh, this is amazing. I would like to also use that service. Can you just add on specific things? Like, okay, now we'll add on dishes, or now we'll start doing laundry?
So as a franchisee or a Nano-Franchisee, this is just, again, Tyler isn't going to stay working as a franchisee for both, right? He's a Nano-Franchisee in the professional house cleaning division with motivated house cleaners.
Yeah.
He's going to help beta test with this.
Then
he'll become the VP of both divisions. But no, for example, when a consumer goes to one of our websites like motivatedbrands.ca or any individual website for any of the divisions, or they log into their customer dashboard, and they click book, it pops up and they'll see the logos for each division, and I want to book a household helper, I want to book a pooper. We have a division, Motivated Pooper Scoopers, where we come in and we do the pooper scooper, and you can choose. Now, in this case, for example, no, like that would be outside the scope of services. So just like when we're working with Motivated Household Helpers, of course we'll help you prep for your supper or get those dishes cleaned away from the children in the morning. We're here to help you, and we'll spray and wipe the countertop, of course, but we're not going to clean your toilet. Like, we have a division that does professional house cleaning. It's very light duty stuff that we assist and help with. And also with household helpers, people don't hire us to come in and just do those things while they sit back. Like, we work alongside of them. We help them with their chores, right? Okay. So, sometimes we people that, like, for example, as organized as I am, I struggle with hoarding. And it took me many, many years to unhoard my house. But unfortunately, my office has become the new hoarding ground. And Tyler is exceptional at helping with that. So he's actually come to my office, worked as a household helper, and he was able to help me get things in a keep, not shore and throw away pile. And something that has plagued me for years, within 2 hours, he was able to make my office beautiful again. Mm-hmm. And, so like, it's a particular type of person that can help people with that. And sometimes you need another person with you. And his empathy level is really strong, especially with his healthcare training. He didn't make me feel like I was a loser. He didn't judge me because, of the way my office had become. He was like, hey, I understand how it goes.
It helps too that I'm a minimalist and I love throwing things away.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't feel bad. And he helped me feel like, hey, it's okay, buddy, that this office has gotten out of control. And I'm here to help. And when I leave, it's going to be better. And he brought that to my life. And we're going to do that for people all across Canada.
This is an inspirational story for sure. And, Mark, what you're doing in terms of, basically creating this business model and finding people of the character and commitment that Tyler has is, you're making magic here. Love what I'm hearing here, but we're running up against the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that we don't wrap things up before giving everybody an opportunity to know how they can find out more. Mark, I got your website up here. I'll take the URL. I'll drop it in chat.
He's got something he wants to show you over there, Tom.
I see.
A fancy suitcase, makeup case.
Well, I just want to let you know that in January, we launch. Everything is done, of course. You just have to kind of pull the trigger. We're launching Canada's first ever national house call haircutting service. So the business model, it extends past, professional house cleaning and pooper scooper. So this is the set we have come in from China. So basically what happens is they roll that into your house, and they come in and they do your haircut in your office or in your house on demand. So, our goal is to help people write their own success stories across various different industries across Canada. And just Tyler, I hope we talked and he said it's okay to share this. I'll be fast. We have 3 minutes left. Tyler is probably the only provider who's got my personal cell phone number. And he called me on my cell one day and he said, our Thanksgiving is different than yours. And he said, Mark, I want to share something with you. And I said, what's that? And he said, my in-laws live in another city and they're coming to town for Thanksgiving, and I'm treating our entire family to Swiss Chalet. And Swiss Chalet is a franchise chain. It's a restaurant, and it's not a low end, but it's not a high end restaurant. And he said, that might not seem like much, but it's a big deal to me. I found it hard to talk about it without getting overwhelmed, because he had no idea how much that meant to me, that I was able to help him write his own success story and feel good that he could treat, for the first time, his in-laws and his family to this. And that's why we do what we do every single day.
Okay. In the minute we have left, Tyler, again, congratulations on your success. It's an inspirational story, and it seems like you're really just getting started. Seems like you've got a lot of
Absolutely.
a lot of opportunity ahead of you.
It's been sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say it's been a life-changing year for sure.
Awesome.
Well, I think that everybody would agree that anybody that is working with Mark is going to have a lot of opportunity coming their way, because he is never short on ideas, never short on inspiration, never short on creating that brand new thing that nobody's even thought of before. I'm a perfect example right here, right? I mean, looks like you got a great future lined up for yourself there. I'm super happy for you, especially after hearing that story. I'm like, I'm so glad it's all working out so well for you.
And Tyler, so Mark has been a guest on Smart Business Moves a couple times before, and it's never boring. It's always entertaining. But I think this is the favorite, Mark story by far, and I'm looking forward to having you both back again at some point in the future. I want to hear, you guys are still writing the story. I want to hear how this unfolds.
Yeah.
Mark, I'll drop your URL in chat so everybody can find your website. They can get you there. It sounds like at everything from technical, how are you doing it? I think I kind of got a vibe, but there's probably some folks out there in this industry are wondering if they have opportunities, to partner with you in some form or fashion.
We're looking for that. We're looking for master franchisors in America in the various states. And of course, we're always open to that, but we're running out of time. Liz, it's really good to see you. It always makes me happy when I see you. And Tom, as you know, I think the world of you, and I'm really grateful that you gave me an opportunity to come on tonight and to tell people our story. And Tyler, appreciate you, sir. And thanks for all the kind words tonight.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you guys for having me, having us.
With that, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank all of you. Look forward to doing this again down the road. Everybody have a great rest of your week. We'll be back next Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Till then, take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Good night.